Hello, how are you doing? Sorry for the wait. I was just having a little bit of a mix-up with the Zoom. Good. Hi, how are you?
Good
So,
afternoon, everyone.
all right, we'll go ahead and get started. Um, Let me in the slideshow. Just a little bit of the introduction. My name is Casey Nguyen. I am the professor at Moreno Valley College, and I have with me Dr. Lair and Professor Hutchins. So I'll let them introduce themselves.
I'll start. Good afternoon, everyone. I'm Mark Lair from Riverside City College. I teach most of the computer science courses out here. And I'm glad to be with you this afternoon discussing the data science pathway.
Good afternoon. I'm Caroline Hutchings, and I am at Norco College. I teach mostly statistics and then the intro to data science and statistics for STEM courses. So I look forward to seeing you in my classes and then as in the data science program.
So for today, we're going to go over the data science program. We're going to talk about summer fellowship for 2024, the requirements for that, and what you would be expecting, how you would be able to apply. And then if you have any questions, we'll hold the Q&A at the end. So I don't think the UCR faculty will be able to join us today. They couldn't attend because they have overlapping meetings. But if they're able to pop in, we'll have them share some information about the fellowship program at UCR for the summer. So next, I'll hand it over to Dr. Mark Lair. He's going to go over data science, what it is, and what you should be expecting.
If you think, when I was getting my degrees in statistics, basically how statistics and data science and computer science kind of meld together and are different. If you think about it, the data science uses tools to explore the information, and it explores the data to extract that information. Whereas statistics builds models to make predictions. So data science is more in line with taking the data, cleaning it up, getting it from databases, getting it from wherever you can, and then exploring what the information in the data is telling you by categorization procedures and various procedures like that. So what I'd like to do is Casey, can I grab the screen for a second? What I'd like to do is share a little topic that might give you an idea of what computer or data science is and how computers are used in it, and what the relationship might be between statistics and data science and computer science. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you a little paper I once did that utilized data science. And that is, once upon a time, I worked at NASA, and they gave me a project to do. And the project was to analyze the PRCS thrusters. The PRCS thrusters basically are the primary reaction control system thrusters for this shuttle. And they were having problems with it. They were exhibiting characteristics that just would cause failure in a real scenario. So what I basically looked at was those PRCS thrusters Their problematic areas were a pilot operated valve. And that pilot operated valve had, if you look over here in the small area, it had O-rings. And as you remember on previous shuttle flights with respect to the SRB thrusters and that type of thing, those O-rings failed. Well, these were on the smaller attitude jets that supplied attitude control for the shuttle as it re-entered. So these valves had these O-rings that would degrade over time with respect to the chemical propellants that were utilized. So at that point, the problem became how to characterize the data. So in order to characterize the data, it became very hard for humans, especially lab technicians, to determine whether the PRCS thrusters should be refurbished or replaced. And it did make a monetary or have a monetary impact because each one of these valves, if you were just going to refurbish them, cost $100,000. And if you were going to replace them, you were in the millions of dollars. So they were hard to characterize because the deviation from, as you can see here, from these traces were insignificant. It was very hard for a lab technician to figure that out. So what I did was I proposed that we utilize a data science technique to categorize these things. And that was, in this case, using artificial neural nets. So to utilize the artificial neural nets, I had to develop a model for them. So I've got three little pieces of information in this picture just to give you an idea. A neuron is composed of dendrites and a soma and an axon. So the dendrites acts as inputs, the soma acts as an activation or trigger function that then has an output along the axons that travel to the next dendrites. So if you look at this little area here, a little picture, it's a bunch of inputs that are summed together to get with some kind of a bias and weighted such that you get an output. So that forms the function. So if you look at this in a very interesting way, it's simply a function using linear algebra. So given that, what I did was composed a model and developed a little program. So that little program looked something like this. You had the data, you had the biases, you had the weights, and you had the transformation matrix because the problem was too difficult. It was in 4,000 dimensions, and I had to reduce it to 37 dimensions. So what I did was, if you look at here, I took the data and then I compressed it with a transformation matrix. Then I utilized the weights and the biases of basically a level of neurons in an artificial neural net. And I applied an activation function like it would be in the soma. And then that entire thing got then weighted again and then added to a bias to then give me a characterization. So this one line of code is 10 billion operations and took about a minute to run on one of our fastest computers at the time. So what came out of that was the characterization. In other words, whether a green light to the astronauts represented a go, an orange said they were going to have problems, they might have to deactivate that or not count on that PRCS thruster, or a red, which basically meant they couldn't use it. And then we had error categorization associated with it, with respect to its nominal characteristics all the way to its fully bad characteristics, and then an unknown, which basically said we'd never encountered a problem like that before. So that, in effect, was the basis for this data science project, utilizing artificial neural nets. And the result was that after categorizing it, I applied various functional analysis techniques and noise to the problem so that we would always bias it in favor of spending money in terms of replacing, refurbishing or replacing the valves, then versus, you know, having it fail in flight. So that's kind of a little example of what data science is about, and in this case, applying it to an actual problem. So let me stop sharing that and back to the screen. So that's what data science, in terms of one application, could be, is to categorize, in this case, a piece of equipment under failure. So that's just kind of like a real world example. But if you were go back to again, back between the data science and statistics and computer science is used extensively and almost exclusively in data science to be able to explore the information from data, whereas statistics is more mathematically inclined to making predictions and utilizing models. So that's my little spiel there for what data science is and how it might be used in a real application. So, in terms of the types of things that data science does provide for you and jobs in data science, I looked up you can see there it's a fairly, would be a fairly popular field given the degrees and the information that you can receive from that. I looked up basically where you might be working in the 10 most popular places where data science is applied. And if you look at the states in which it is, basically on the West Coast, if you think of Washington and California, here on the West Coast, even believe it or not, Alaska is like 8th ranked. And then if you look on the East Coast, you've got New Hampshire, New York, Massachusetts, those types of areas where data science is concentrated. And then, of course, if you look at, you know, the categories, basically healthcare is a great field where data science is utilized. IT is a great area. Retail is a great area where they're trying to categorize information from those people wanting to purchase their products and that type of thing. So wherever you need to extract information from data is where you will find good paying jobs. So data analyst, data engineer, data scientist, data architect. I'm more along the lines of a data engineer. I've got my background in aerospace engineering, but definitely like to apply it to real world data. So any questions with respect to that? Good.
With no questions, I guess we'll proceed to the pathway for UCR. And Carolyn, do you want to talk about this or?
Sure. So we're excited to have a data science pathway to UCR. We have worked with UCR in order to make that as smooth a transition as possible. We have, if you look on the Norco College website, oh, here it is, you'll see the courses that you need to take in order to accomplish an associate's degree in data science and transfer over to UCR. So a couple of highlights. Some of the courses were offered this last year. A lot of them are going to be coming available this upcoming year. So Foundations of Data Science, if you're interested, that's a great introductory course to kind of just get your feet wet and see what data science is all about. That's generally offered in the fall. So make sure if you're interested in taking that, that you look at taking it in the fall. And overall, you know, this is a heavy math, computer programming degree. And so it is kind of heavy on those courses. And so you need to start early in order to be able to get this done within the 2 years.
And just to also add to Professor Hutchins' information about the courses, that if you want to do the data analytics certificate, it is 2 course less. And so it's really designed for you to have the associate degree while getting the certificate. It is less 2 math classes, but if you want to pursue the associates, you can, and we articulated these courses with the UCs and the CSUs. So, for example, Foundation for Data Science, that's modeled after Data 8 at UC Berkeley. And right now we're working out articulation with various institutions. So as we move through the program, we also updated to the university requirements. So you can always check ASSIST or IGETC to determine which courses that would fit for the school that you're transferring to for data science. Some school will have specific program in statistic department. Other schools, most of the UC and the CSU, data science will fall under computer science. So it's really important that you look at how your associate degree would be able to align with your school that you're planning to transfer. But when we built the courses, we wanted to make sure that the students, number one, is going to be well-rounded going into the university or the field. Second, the course requirements are going to be met with the university level. And as the requirement change with the university, sometime we would go back and modify the course and the program. So we also get feedback from employers to make sure that the program fulfills the employment requirement. So every semester at every college, we have program advisory meeting with the employers, so that way we can get feedback to update our curriculum. So that's just a little bit of background for the curriculum side. So I guess I'll go over the fellowship program since UCR couldn't be able to join us. Sorry, I had a typo here, but the 8 weeks is going to be for 2024 summer. You're going to start on July 17th and you're going to end on August 9th. Throughout the time, it's going to be meeting at UCR campus so the first 2 weeks, you're required to attend and you will be given a schedule by the faculty at UCR. So the beginning weeks are going to be just getting to know your team, working on professional development activities like building out resume, looking at your current skills, and then moving on to training, learning Python and statistic to apply to projects. So you're required to be there Monday to Friday, the first 2 weeks. And once the project is selected, assigned, you will be given a mentor. And the mentor is industry professional that's going to be guiding you. And sometimes it would also be professors that are doing research in that area. So they will give you guidance on how to build out your project in a team. Your team could be 2 to multiple students, like 3 or 4. Usually in the last summer, we would see small teams. So from week 3 to week 8, you are going to be meeting only at the beginning of the weeks. And UCR is pretty flexible with the schedule for the project requirement. You will have team meetings via Zoom or in person, and you will follow up with your mentor to build out your project. So with that, you will be receiving $5,000 stipend. The stipend is broken into 2 payments. So as you enter the program or being accepted in the program, I will be sending you agreements and you have to fulfill the agreements and sign. So with that, once we receive the agreements, we would then send it to our RCCD business office. Halfway through the program, you will be receiving the first payment, which is $2,500, and you will have to pick up the check at the office near downtown Riverside. So the majority of the time you will be required to be in person. Only when you're working with your team, you're going to be working remotely with your team members. Now, for the second payment, at the end of the program, after you have completed your project, you will then be presenting your project or showcasing your project, and we will be attending and be able to give you some feedback. And at that time, you will be receiving the last payment for the stipend. So the summer fellowship program really entail in-person training, some virtual workshops and in-person workshop, team collaborations, team discussions, and also guidance with the professors and the industry partners. So you will be working with 2 professors at UCR along with other professors from Cal State San Bernardino, and some professors from other colleges. So with us, we will be giving you the initial guidance on how to get started with the fellowship. But during the fellowship, you will be working directly with UCR, industry partners, and some of their faculty. So the workshops would entail data cleaning, wrangling, learning about big data, how to work with data engineering processes, using different type of tools and platforms, and then going into the introduction of machine learning. So there will be various topics that is data focused. You will also have professional development workshop, like building out your resume to really fulfill some of the area in the data as you are moving through the workshop, having oral presentations individually and team. And then there will be mock interview process to kind of help you train or improve your communication skills. At the end, you are going to have a summer symposium, and during this time, it is a one-day event. You will be able to invite your family, your friends, colleagues, and you will present your project with posters. So UCR will be able to support you with printing poster, designing your posters, and sharing or um, displaying your presentation during the symposium process. Usually this is going to take place in the morning until the late afternoon. So you can invite your family members to attend and look at what project you have completed. Also, throughout the project and the presentation process, you will be working with industry organizations. Some of the local organization participate and also remote organization participate. For example, Nike, NASA, and some of the local organizations such as RTA for bus. So it really varied depending on the fellowship timeline. So you will be working with mentors in the area. For example, you will be working directly with data engineers and architects in the field, or researchers that are working on projects that would be related to data. So here are some of the projects you will be working on, and these are just some example, and it's not limited to these. So you will be working on some NASA projects looking at flight data, along with looking at transit or bus routes to be able to come up with a model that would improve the current bus routes for the Greater Inland Empire. And then you can also be working with health related type of research. In the last summer, I noticed that there were quite a few students that were in the science area that participated. So they chose to do more health related or bio related type of data analytics project. And also working with County of Riverside, looking at retention, some dashboards information, or water shortage, and different type of data, looking at fire and other things. So these are just some example that you can see for a project-based type of work that you're going to be doing. So to apply to the scholarship, I will drop the link into the chat shortly. And when you visit the link, you just have to fill out the information. You will be required to submit at least one letter of recommendation or put down the recommender name. So you're welcome to reach out to us if you have our classes or other professionals and professors to be able to help you with the recommendation process. You need to complete the form by April 5th because UCR will close the application and will go through the process of reviewing. You should be hearing back from us whether you get accepted or not by the end of April, and we will start the paperwork process to make sure that you will get your stipend upon the completion or during the fellowship. So, do you have any question regarding the process for now? Okay, no questions.
Hello, Dr. Wood?
Yes, yes.
Hi,
Hi,
Dr. Wood.
Cynthia.
It's Cynthia.
How are you?
Good, good, good.
What's up?
I just wanted to ask a couple of questions. So, um, I'm currently doing more like data analytical research at my current internship. And I find that like data science and data analytics, although they're kind of similar, they're very different in a way. So I will be honest, I don't, when I transferred, so I currently go to Cal State, I didn't really need to take like calculus or linear algebra. So I was just wondering if this program is kind of the right fit for me. And yeah.
So Cynthia, the we do have a certificate program across 3 campuses, and the certificate program is 2 less math courses. It's really geared for the students that just want to get a certificate to enhance their data analytics skills, very similar to your situation.
Okay.
I've had a lot of students, professionals, potential students that have reached out to me via email asking about the certificate itself, and utilizing some of the courses that they have taken in the past at their university to be able to
Okay.
transfer for the program. And yeah, so for the skills improvement area, the certificate would probably be more suitable as you are on your path to get a bachelor degree at Cal State San Bernardino. So unless you want to go for the complete associate degree, then it just be 2 additional math courses. The associate degree really wants to align with the students that want to transfer into data science program, for example, something at UC Berkeley or UC Davis or UC San Diego. Because of the STEM pathway, they have to fulfill the calculus requirement anyway. So we felt like it would be more suitable and also to fulfill the criteria that the university give us. When we build out the program, we also ask their feedback on how that would align with their program when the student enter their institution. So, yeah, just to make it short, right?
I'm gonna
Yeah, the certificate would be ideal for your situation.
And I want to jump in here for just a
Yeah.
quick second. So I know that the program at UCSD, for example, when you're doing a lot of the machine learning techniques, it relies heavily on linear algebra. There's a
I
lot of
agree.
linear algebra and multivariate calculus in those machine learning techniques. And so in order to be successful in learning them and learning when to apply them and how they work, you would need a really strong foundation in multivariate calculus and linear algebra.
I agree. And then as you move through the courses, you will find the need for linear algebra. As I have attended several conferences, and that's the same thing that comes up. So it doesn't hurt to have that knowledge in the areas of analytics, Cynthia. So if you want to take 2 more classes because you have the resource and the time to do that, it will be beneficial in the long run if you want to continue in the data analytics area.
Okay. And so I guess I was just wondering too, if I guess the skills that I'm learning currently would be transfer or would be would make me a successful, I guess, candidate for the data science like projects or yeah, something along those lines.
So UCR doesn't have a very strict requirement on entering the fellowship, just to make sure that, you know, some of the criteria is listed on the form, like recommendation, making sure that you're able to work in team and you know, so um having some programming knowledge would be helpful. Some students have not taken Python, but it is not a requirement for the actual fellowship. If you have taken Python, that is a plus. We always encourage the student to have some programming knowledge entering the data science fellowship, you know, because you will be working with mentors that will give you guidance, and then you have to build out your project, maybe looking at dashboards that would use Python API. So if you only taken C++ or other language like Java, it will be fine. There will be workshops that would be Python related, and you know, so you will be using an online interpreter for most part in the training, but having knowledge in using the programming language is a plus. If you have a little bit of R knowledge is always important too, in data science and data analytics, because R is often used in statistic and it's used in data engineering quite a bit. So
Okay,
if you have knowledge in that, that's useful.
thank you.
Mhm. Other questions?
Excuse me, I'm really sorry. I have a question.
Sure.
So if if I do get accepted to the internship, would you recommend? Because I have a plan for taking just CIS 5 in my summer. Because I
Mhm.
already finished my CIS 30A and I'm taking my CIS 30E right now.
Okay.
But would you recommend to stay in the class while being in the internship or?
Yes, so I had quite a few students that were taking summer classes and doing the fellowship. When if you get accepted to the program, just make sure that you let the UCR professor know that you are also taking courses. Yes, you can definitely do summer courses and doing the fellowship, because it's only even though it's 8 weeks program, they are flexible with the, you know, accommodating some of your schedule. The only challenge would be that if students are traveling in the summer and trying to do the fellowship and it's the schedule overlaps, then that becomes a problem. But you do want to dedicate some time for the training. So for example, if you're taking CAS 5 online during the summer, I think that you can definitely do that while you're doing the fellowship.
Okay, thank you very much.
You're welcome. Any other questions? Let me maybe look at the chat to see. Okay, I think Professor Lair. Yes.
Hi, I'm an economics major, so I have not taken any of the programming classes.
Mhm.
I am a little familiar. I do plan to self-learn, and I have a couple books that I want to read in preparation in the event that I do the program. But how can I get like an example of how like programming language would be necessary in, figure like in models and in this fellowship?
So, some of the students have used Python, as I mentioned before, or database type of programming language to be able to extract data, clean up data. You are going to be working with different data dashboards that, and using the data but dashboard programming language can be quite useful, like R. Um, to clean up some of the data sets, so that way it doesn't have, for example, blank in the CVS file, right? You might have unclean data, clean data that does not meet some criteria. So using some of that will automate some of the process instead of manually going into the something similar to like an Excel spreadsheet to clean
Oh,
everything up. Or in some cases when you're using data dashboard, for example, looking at water shortage in different county in California. Some of the dashboard will require you to have, programming knowledge to be able to work with the components, the programming components of that, to be able to extract or simulate or be able to integrate graphs from the data that you pull from it. So there are different areas and project-based related type of programming, but it's not all concentrated in programming. There are statistic components in the project. So if you're coming in strong from economics to have, to integrate some statistic information for your project, that's totally fine.
okay.
Yeah, I've had we've seen students in the last round that had very little computer science related skills, and they seem to excel well, right, in their project at the end. So with that, it's not just limited to programming, but you do want to have some basic skills. That's a plus.
Okay. Okay, perfect. Thank you.
Mhm. Other questions? Those are really good questions, and I'll try to post them and resend out the presentations, but I will have the recorded video available on YouTube and I'll share the link.
I think Umar's got a question.
Oh, yes. Hello?
Umar, is your mic open? Or at least you're just, yeah, go ahead and type in the chat. Oh,
Okay, so the question is, how many hours would the program take and would we be going to UCR? Yes, you'll be required for the first, well, most of the weeks are going to be at UCR. You will be reporting to UCR locations. They have rooms for trainings. And exactly the amount of hours, I'm not exactly sure, but in the last summer, I have visited them and they would have sessions sometime in the late morning, sometime can go into the afternoon. We can ask the UCR professor to provide specific information as far as the schedule. We looked at the last fellowship, what had worked and what didn't work, and then we would improve from the fellowship so it would not exactly be the schedule like it was last summer. So I can give you more of a definite answer after this week, maybe going into next week. I will reach out to the professors at UCR and get the schedule for everyone. Would we need any math prerequisite? Statistics was probably the basic that you would need, but if you have taken pre-calculus, calculus, or other math classes, that would be ideal. But there was no requirement as far as math goes. As most of the students leaving the high school now, I think many of the students have taken some college algebra and even pre-calculus. So if you are currently in those classes, that will be fine. But if you have, if I would say that having statistic knowledge would be ideal for fellowship. You're welcome. Any other questions?
I have a quick question.
Yeah.
I was just wondering, would we be able to choose the project that we'd like to work on, or is it assigned to us if we were accepted?
You will be choosing your project. They will give you a list of projects that you can select from, but if you have a specific project that you want to work on, you can. So for example, one of my former student, he's now at Cal State San Bernardino. In the last summer, he did a project with Nike and he had presented some information about Nike shoe design, what was effective in certain design and sales, because he was interested in that area. And then other students, they were interested in healthcare related, for example, looking at certain type of drugs or medication that would be used for a certain type of disease. So yes, you can pick your project, and there are also recommended projects. So, and then as you pick the project, they will be able to look at the mentors that will be suitable to guide you through your projects.
Got it. Thank you.
No problem. Other questions? I see a chat. What would be the next step to apply? And okay. So you don't have to have a professor endorsement or recommendation. You can use uh like a work-based type of recommendation, someone that you work with or your supervisor, maybe a colleague, if you want that. Professional reference is always a plus, but if you don't have professional or professors' references, that will be okay. If you're taking courses, I would recommend reaching out to your professors and then asking your professors if they're willing to do that, and you need to give us time to do that. And sometime for the references, you just need to put down their information. So make sure that you let them know that you're putting down their information, so that way they're not surprised when they're getting an email for a reference check. But yes, you will need about 2 to 3 references. I don't think that it require the letter of recommendation anymore. It does require the 2 to 3 references. So professors, colleagues, somebody that you have worked with or you currently working with would probably be okay. So they can vouch for your performance and maybe punctuality, communication skills, and so on. Well, we will see. You can always try to ask, or maybe if you are in a club at school, you can talk to your club advisor. Perhaps they can be also a good resource for you as well. So I'm gonna stop share for a second, and then I'm gonna drop in the application link for you. And make sure that we take some time to apply before the 5th, so that way you would be able to um, get your all the requirements in, and then we will be able to look at your applications after spring break. Okay, so here's the link. And then I will put in the flyer also, in case you want to use the flyer or share the flyer to some of your fellow classmates or people that you know. So on the flyer on the left-hand side on the bottom, you will find also a clickable link, but you can definitely click and then let me reshare that with the rest of the people and the flyer with the rest of the attendees. Okay, do you have any other questions or concern?
I had one quick question. I was wondering, is a cover letter needed or just the resume?
I think a resume would be fine. If you have a cover letter, you can also put it onto the same file, like a cover letter and then resume. That will be good too. But yeah, I think it's just a resume. They
Oh, okay.
will, if you don't have a cover letter, if you get accepted to the program, there will be workshop for building out cover letter and enhancing your resume.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
I
Any other
don't have-
questions?
Oh, sorry. I was gonna say I don't have any other questions, but thank you so much for your time and have a great day.
Okay, thank you,
Everyone.
Cynthia. Good to see you again.
Good to see you. Take care. Bye,
Bye.
everyone.
Okay. Is there anyone else that have questions for any of us? All right. Well, if you don't have any questions, I want to thank you for attending the session. If you're interested in signing up for the courses will be available in fall across 3 campuses. You also can talk to your counselor about the program. I think most of the counselors are aware that the programs are available. You can also reach out to us. I think on the flyer, it has our contact information. And we'll be happy to answer any questions that you have regarding, the program or even the fellowship information. And you will be hearing back from us after spring break at the end of April. If you got accepted to the program, you will be working directly with me for agreements and stipends and all of those paperwork process. But Dr. Lair, Professor Hutchins, and I are happy to have you in the program. We look forward to seeing you in our classes, and I wish you a great weekend ahead, and as we have a long holiday weekend. No class on Monday, okay? Take care, everyone. Have a good day.
Bye. Thank
Bye.
you.
Thank you.